This first edition of African Fact for 2022 looks at African climate change in the context of the COP26 conference held in Glasgow, Scotland last November, and the impact that the decisions made there will have on the way the continent deals with mitigation and adaptation in the face of the current climate crisis. It is widely agreed that while Africa is responsible for just less than 4% of global emissions, the continent is due to be profoundly hit by the consequences of climate change, disproportionately to the amount of emissions it is responsible for. The main culprits, the industrialized nations of the global north, have reaped the benefits of 2 centuries of development founded on dirty energy. Fossil fuels, oil, coal, and gas have powered their factories and literally powered their economies for all that time. They now demand that African countries, who are not beneficiaries of this industrial revolution and who still rely on fossil fuels to reach development goals and for revenue, forego these natural resources and join in a green transition to save our planet. Who pays for Africa's green transition and how do they do it remains at the heart of the matter. On the one hand, it's easy to understand the view that since Africa is not responsible for the present climate crisis, it should not be required to sacrifice its development goals by giving up fossil fuels. On the other hand, Africa cannot escape the consequences of climate change, even if it does hold the moral high ground, which suggests that proposals for a just transition offer a practical way forward. So, what will a just and fair transition look like for African countries? It's in this context that this issue of African Fact also examines what's next for African countries dependent on fossil fuels. Contributors reiterate the view that fairness dictates that Africa's development and industrialization, both of which still are largely reliant on fossil fuels, must not be sacrificed to the West's transition to net zero. Several writers, somewhat controversially, propose that a practical solution might lie with what they call a hybrid model, which, to put it in a rather oversimplified way, would involve a mixture of traditional natural resources and greener alternatives. While our contributors might differ among themselves on how the transition should, or rather must, occur, all of them agree that the effects of climate change in Africa will be brutal. They are now. In East Africa, for example, we examine how rising sea temperatures have encouraged locust swarms that have caused wide-scale devastation, food shortages, and widespread hunger. In West Africa, meanwhile, rising sea temperatures and levels have threatened the fishing industry, causing widespread loss of livelihoods as well as hunger. Elsewhere, including Ghana and the Sahel, deforestation and land degradation are causing conflicts, food scarcity, and undermining human security. To meet global net zero targets, industrialized countries have no option other than to pay up and to support Africa in meeting its transition commitments. For all of this and more, read the latest edition of African Fact.